What's going on, everybody? Cleanspark's Bitcoin mining update just released today, so let's take a look at it. In the month of January, Cleanspark mined 621 Bitcoin and reached 40 exahash per second, and surpassed it technically, reaching 40.1 exahash. Their fleet efficiency has also improved, an 8% month over month, and Zach Bradford, the CEO of Cleanspark, said Cleanspark powered through January, continuing to improve efficiency, reaching new milestones despite historic weather events across several of our regions. We crossed the 40 exahash milestone, achieved more than 10,500 Bitcoin held in treasury, a little over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and celebrated the 5-year anniversary of listing on NASDAQ by ringing the bell last week. Now, the entire team is focused on executing our path to 50 exahash per second and building on our top 3 position across operating hash rate, marginal cost per coin, fleet efficiency, Bitcoin held, and total uptime. This month we saw our interruptible power contracts in action as we curtailed portions of the portfolio during extreme cold weather events. We demonstrated our ability to support our utility and community partners, specifically during the coldest 5 days, and the benefit to our broad regional portfolio strategy by mitigating downtime in the southeast with limited interruption across our other regions. Despite the weather, construction in Tennessee, Georgia, and Wyoming continues as we march towards our mid-year goal. They did reach a month-end operating hash rate of 40.1 exahash per second, 873 megawatts of power under contract, a month-end fleet efficiency of 16.15 joules per terahash. The only Bitcoin miner I know of that's more efficient is Iron. Iron has a leading fleet efficiency of sub 15 joules per terahash. These are two very, very efficient Bitcoin miners. A lot of the rest of the industry is still in the 20 joules per terahash. Lower is better. They sold 22.47 Bitcoin in January, which is about a day worth of Bitcoin mined. They have a deployed fleet now of 217,272. It seemed like just yesterday that they only had 80,000 Bitcoin machines. And so far this year, because January is the first month of the year, we have 1 month to go off of, they've produced 626 Bitcoin. Now, here's some interesting things. We should see a good increase from January to February because throughout January 2025, the company's average hash rate was 34.76 exahash. By the end of the month, they reached that 40 exahash. Average fleet efficiency, 17.37 joules per terahash, resulting in an average 20 Bitcoin mined per day. The single day high reached 22.89. They sold 22.47 Bitcoin at an average price of $100,000 per Bitcoin, roughly $2 million worth of Bitcoin in a day. Now we do have some updates that are going to bring even more hash rate on in a short period of time. Twin City, Georgia, a new 12 megawatt site in Georgia is housing S21 Pros, almost fully online. Approximately 0.7 exahash per second contributing to their total hash rate. The remaining 0.1 exahash is expected to come online in the following weeks. And in Cheyenne, Wyoming, actively deploying technologically advanced immersion environment and remain on track for completion in this quarter. Full deployment is expected to contribute 5 exahash to Cleanspark's most efficient hash rate once fully energized, using the latest generation machines. Now, the Bitcoin miners today are pretty mixed, mostly red. But as I said yesterday, Cleanspark's earnings is Thursday 6. It is official. It was officially announced on Cleanspark's Investor Relations tab. So in a few days, we're going to get that earnings. Are we going to get that breakout? Are we going to get that push to the 50 and 200 MA? Work on getting these to finally flip. We had a death cross back in September. Right after an earnings report in November of 2023 was our last golden cross. So over a year ago, we had our last golden cross. Cleanspark over this cycle has been in a massive tightening pattern. We've been seeing higher lows, but we have been seeing lower highs for the most part, especially when you're talking more late 2023 and into 2024. In my opinion, this is going to be a good earnings. This is going to be the first quarter since the halving where we actually increase revenue. The quarter before was an 89 million reported. This is almost double the revenue from a quarter ago. What did we see in the previous quarter from the quarter ending in September? This was a bigger revenue. Ever since the halving, Cleanspark has been shrinking revenue just like the others. After the halving, Cleanspark flipped back to unprofitability, like some of the others that made it to profitability in the first place. When did Cleanspark start running? Start running a lot, that is. It was running before it was profitable in anticipation of profitability coming, but it started running, really running, when profitability was here. And while after the 2022 bear market, after crypto winter, Cleanspark bottomed out at about $1.70 or so, continued higher since. Once we saw those profitable quarters again, that's when things basically went straight up. I do think this earnings is going to be the catalyst that breaks Cleanspark out. Our last earnings was given in very early December, and in early December, Bitcoin was just working on its way, finally breaking out of 100K, getting towards 100K. It was in the 90,000s. But take a look at what I'm seeing. This was Q3, this is Q4, and right here was the halving. Not only the halving took effect, but Bitcoin's price started going down. It went down for a good part of Q2. It went down for a good part of Q3. It started rising again in Q4. It started hitting new all-time highs in Q4. This quarter is not accounted for yet. This is the quarter we're about to get reported. And as a side note, Q1 of the new year looks even better. Q4 started in the 59,000 area, ended in the hundreds, and in Q1 of this new year, Bitcoin started at 92,000 and hasn't gone much lower. During Q3, which was already reported, which was a rough quarter, the Bitcoin miners reacted negatively to this earnings. It was an unprofitable quarter after the Bitcoin miners reached profitability before the halving cut rewards in half. This was a rough quarter where Bitcoin went down to 49,000 and hit a high of 69,000. This is where earnings starts improving. This is where from quarter to quarter we're seeing improvement, revenue growing again, not declining. I do think there's a chance that we see some surprise profitability. And you guys might not know this, but back before the halving, Cleanspark had 2 profitable quarters, and one of those quarters was actually expected to be unprofitable, a negative 25-cent EPS. Cleanspark reported a surprise profit. It was also a quarter where revenue grew. And what happened after earnings? It went from $7.50 to $25 in literally a month. Cleanspark is expected to be a negative 5-cent EPS. I do think there's a possibility that we not only beat this, but see a profitable quarter. But let me know what you guys think down below. Are these Bitcoin miners going to surprise us with some positive earnings, kind of like what we got before the halving, when it was expected to be unprofitable and some surprise with profitability? How are you feeling about this Bitcoin mining update? This is going to be the first quarter that's reflecting any Bitcoin above the $80,000 mark. And pre-halving, we did see a quarter where Bitcoin nearly reached 80,000, but it stopped at about 74,000. And like I said, the last quarter we have to go off of the Bitcoin miners, of earnings, is a quarter where Bitcoin was as low as 49,000 to as high as 69,000. Q4 is drastically different, and I do think earnings will support that. But what say you? Let me know down below, guys. This is going to be an exciting month. We have a lot of Bitcoin miners reporting earnings, and I do think we're going to get some positive surprises there. But thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.